Over the past week, I've reviewed almost every single March of the Machine commander deck, and I can say with force that you can buy any of these decks and be rest assured you're going to be getting a strong commander deck. In today's video, we're going to be reviewing the Divine Convocation commander deck. Keep in mind that everything on this YouTube channel is made for people that are brand new to Magic the Gathering. By the end of this video, you're going to learn how this commander deck plays, the types of cards you're going to want to upgrade this deck, and also the monetary value you're going to receive from investing into this commander deck. Before we begin, a huge thank you to everyone that's subscribed to the channel. I genuinely appreciate it. If you're not already subscribed, you can subscribe to the channel. It's just a quick and easy way to say thank you to me for making these videos. Now, this is the first time I've ever looked at this commander deck, and that's generally how it goes. The first thing we always take a look at is the price. The deck has a value right now of about $199, keeping in mind that as this deck releases, this price is going to drop, but that price is indicative of how strong the deck generally is going to be. And $199 is the highest amount I've seen so far amongst all of the March of Machine commander decks that I've reviewed up to this point. The commander for the Divine Convocation commander deck is Kasla, the Broken Halo, which is eerily similar to a girl I used to talk to named Maria. I really think they just took Maria and put her on a Magic card. So every time I see this card, it reminds me of Maria. Maria ruined my life in a really good way. So I'm sure we'll talk more about Maria, but let's talk about the card. So Maria, the Broken Halo. Maria says convoke. Your creatures can help cast the spell. Each creature you tap while casting the spell pays for 1 or 1 mana of that creature's color. Flying, Vigilance, Haste. Whenever you cast another spell that has Convoke, scry 2 and then draw a card. Now, whenever we're talking about commanders in general, whenever you have a commander that gives you card advantage or allows you to draw cards, and in this case, scrying 2 and then drawing a card, we're immediately talking about a commander that's powerful, because a commander is something that you can always put back into play. And when you have a draw engine in your command zone, it tends to work out pretty well. So I'm already saying that this deck is already at a power level of about 7 to, if not automatically, at an 8. Because your commander is a draw engine. First card we have here is Cloud of Fairies. Flying, when it enters the battlefield, untap up to 2 lands. Generally, these cards go infinite some way, where you can generate infinite mana. That's cool, you know? I don't know how effective that's gonna be inside this deck, untapping lands like that. Generally, when you're untapping lands, you'll put enchantments onto the lands so that those lands are actually tapping for 2 or 3 mana, so that when you untap them, you're generating 6 mana. So just an idea if you're playing a deck where you're untapping a ton of lands. Make those lands tap for more mana. We have a Goblin Instigator. When this enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 red goblin creature token. It looks like we're having a ton of enter the battlefield effects. This is gonna create a token that you can tap to convoke. Enters the battlefield, you draw a card. The Spirited Companion. I mean, at 2 mana, you know, this is good. It seems like there might be a blinking where you're taking creatures, having them leave the battlefield, and then having them re-enter, and then getting their ability again, which seems pretty good. We have the Suture Priest. Yeah, whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you may gain 1 life. This is a good reprint. I like this card. Tetsuko Umezawa Fugitive. Creatures you control with power 1 or less can't be blocked. I mean, it seems like this deck is going to go very wide and just have a ton of really low power creatures. And I mean, if you want them to start dealing damage, this is a good card to use. Banisher Priest. Enters the battlefield. Exile target creature and opponent controls. I mean, good card. So notice this. Enter the battlefield, enter the battlefield, enter the battlefield, enter the battlefield, enter the battlefield. So there's a ton of enter the battlefield triggers, which, you know, those decks generally tend to play pretty well. You know, we have the Chasm Skulker whenever you draw a card, keeping in mind that our commander is a draw engine. So I think that this Chasm Skulker could get pretty big. I think in the long term, depending on the amount of cards you're going to be drawing, I don't know if this is a card you're going to want to keep inside the deck, but for a card that you place inside of a Precon, this is a good card. Dirger Hedgemage. How do you pronounce that word? When this enters the battlefield, if you control 2 or more mountains, you may destroy target artifact. Also, if you control 2 or more planes, you can destroy target enchantment. Sounds good. Goblin Medics. When it becomes tapped, it deals 1 damage to any target. Perfect. You know, Kasla wants you to be tapping creatures, so if you can tap the Goblin Medics, you're gonna deal 1 damage to any target and just destroy things on the board. I mean, if you had ways to untap the Goblin Medics and to continue doing that over and over again, you'd receive a good amount of value. Mentor of the Meek. Whenever another creature with 2 power or less enters the battlefield under your control, you can pay 1. If you do, you draw a card. I mean, if we look so far at all the creatures, 1 power, 2 power, 1 power, 2 power, 1 power. So almost all of these creatures that we reviewed up to this point will allow you to draw a card, just Mentor of the Meek. So this is a fantastic card inside this deck. Mist Meadow Vanisher. I think this card is new. When this becomes tapped, exile up to 1 target non-land permanent, non-land, non-token permanent. Return that card to the battlefield under its owner control at the beginning of the next end step. Yeah, this is probably the best card I've seen so far. I mean, all of our creatures have enter the battlefield effect, so the fact that this card can force you to exile a creature and have it re-enter the battlefield to trigger the ability again seems pretty good inside this deck. Nadir Kraken, whenever you draw a card. Guys, this deck right now is so focused. I'm already gonna give this a review score of about a 9. I'm already settling the score for this deck. This deck is gonna play very strong out of the box. Look, whenever you draw a card with this Kraken, if you pay 1, you put a counter on the Kraken and you create a 1/1 tentacle. Saint Treft and Rem Arlus. Whenever Saint Treft and Rem become tapped, create a 1/1 red human creature token. If this is the first time this ability is resolved this turn. If it's the second time, create a 1/1 blue spirit creature token with flying. If it's a third time, create a 4/4 white angel creature token with flying. Whenever you cast a spell that has Convoke, untap Saint Treft and Rem. Nice, guys. That's a fantastic card. You're gonna need a lot of ways to untap your creatures to untap this 3 or 4 times every single turn. But I mean, that's a great ability, man. And this happens any turn, not just during your own turn. I mean, you could do this on your opponent's turn, technically. We have the Village Bellringer. It has flash. Enters the battlefield. You can untap all creatures you control. I mean, you could use this to untap a creature. I generally like to play this card when my opponent's attacking me, and then I can just cast it at flash speed to untap everything and then just block my opponent's board. And a lot of times it leads to almost like a one-sided board wipe where you're able to just destroy your opponent's creatures. We have a Wildfire Awakener, Convoke. Somebody just subscribed to the channel. Whenever Wildfire Awakener enters the battlefield, you create X. Another person just subscribed to the channel somewhere. You create X. Well, let me just refocus right now. Convoke. When Wildfire Awakener enters the battlefield, create X 1/1 red elemental creature tokens with whenever this creature becomes tapped, it deals 1 damage to target player. Dude, this card's a bomb inside this deck, man. Yeah, I mean, what are you gonna say? That card is amazing. Guys, this deck is creeping towards a 10 right now. We have an Angel of Finality flying. When this enters the battlefield, exile all cards from target player's graveyard. Guys, this card has won me games. Keep this card inside the deck because exiling all the cards from target player's graveyard, you don't know how effective that can be at times. We have the Ameria Angel flying. Whenever land enters the battlefield under your control, you may create a 1/1 white bird creature token with flying. Guys, this is a card that you play after a board wipe. Let the board be destroyed because the Ameria Angel can enter the battlefield and then by itself can create a brand new board state. So play this card after a board wipe. It's a good card. Follow Sage. Whenever Follow Sage becomes tapped, you draw a card. I mean, that's exactly what you're looking for. It's great. Keeper of the Accord. At the beginning of each opponent's end step, if that player controls more creatures than you, create a 1/1 white soldier creature token. At the beginning of each player's end step, if that player controls more lands than you may search library for a basic plains card, put it onto the battlefield, tap, and then shuffle. I mean, I don't even need to say anything. That's a great card. Kaikar? Let's go. I'm gonna get a copy of Kaikar. Let's go. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, create a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying. You can sacrifice a spirit to add red mana to your mana pool. Great, guys. You can tap one of the spirit and then sacrifice it. So you're essentially adding 2 mana to your mana pool with Kaikar. Great card. I'm probably gonna end up building a separate commander deck with Kaikar, honestly, just because I think I've always wanted to build a Kaikar deck. Nesting Dovehawk. At the beginning of combat on your turn, populate. Ooh, guys, this is a good card. What? Whenever a creature token enters the battlefield under your control, put a 1/1 counter on Nesting Dovehawk. Dude, guys, that's a great. This card goes in so many commander decks, guys. Great card here. Joyful Storm Sculptor. When Joyful Storm Sculptor enters the battlefield, create 2 1/1 blue and red elemental creature tokens. Whenever you cast a spell that has Convoke, Joyful Storm Sculptor deals 1 damage to each opponent and each battle they protect. Okay, so we're not going to get into the battles because we have a lot of new players watching this video, so we'll just go over that. I'm just going to tell you, it's a good card. Play this card. Venerated Loxodon Convoke. When this enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature that convoked it. Great. We have a Flock Chaser Phantom Convoke Flying Vigilance. Whenever this attacks, the next spell you cast a turn has Convoke. Great. Great way to cheat mana. It is 6 mana. It does have Convoke, so you could pay this for as little as 2. So I like this card. I think it's great. The Locust God? Oh, man. No way, guys. All right, this deck is now a 9.5, guys. This is creeping really... I've never given a deck a 10 before, but this is getting really close. We have the Locust God. Whenever you draw a card, create a 1/1 blue and red insect creature token with flying and haste. 4 mana to draw a card and discard a card. Most importantly, if the Locust God dies, return it to your hand at the beginning of the next end step. Guys, this card is so strong. Locust God by itself wins games of Commander. This card goes infinite. The tokens that you create have haste. So you can just draw a ton of cards, create all the tokens, attack in the same turn, and just end the game. This card is so good, guys. Seraph of the Masses. Seraph of the Masses, power and toughness are each equal to the number of creatures you control, which in this deck seems like it's going to be a lot. This card has Convoke, so you can pay as little as 2 mana for this. Dude, this deck is on fire right now, guys. We have the Angel of Salvation, which is what you're going to need if you're playing against Maria in this commander deck. Flash, Convoke, so you can play this at instant speed. When Angel of Salvation enters the battlefield, prevent the next 5 damage that would be dealt this turn to any number of targets divided as you choose. I mean, you could pay this for as little as 2 mana. I mean, it does have flash. You're going to be able to block something with it. So I think inside this deck, it's good, guys. It's a great card. This is a 8 mana Convoke Flying. Finally, the first card I'm going to say, take this card out of the deck, guys. This is a bad card. I don't think this card is good. They had to put something inside here at some point that wasn't good because everything is just amazing so far. Elspeth, Sun's Champion. Jeez. +1, create 3 1/1 white soldier creature tokens. At -3, destroy all creatures with power 4 or greater. Guys, this is a card that you hold on to, that you just play and then destroy all of your opponent's creatures and keep all of your own creatures. Fantastic card right here. So we have Reality Shaping, which is not popping up, so we're not going to talk about that card. We have Secure the Wastes, which is going to create a ton of 1/1 creature tokens. Fantastic card. Swords of Plowshares, always good. Emerald Shields, Convoke, target creature gains indestructible until the end of turn. You know, for 1 mana. It's good. Path of the Ghost Hunter. I've never seen this card before. Create X 1/1 white spirit creature tokens with flying. So this card's already good because it just scales as the game goes on and becomes stronger. Will of the Planeswalkers. We're not going to get into the Planeswalking cards because of the new players. I feel like it'd be too much to go over. Ren's Resolve. Exile the top 2 cards of your library. Until the end of turn, you may play those cards. I don't know if you really want to be exiling cards on your library and playing cards that way, but it's certainly a card. I would probably take this card out of the deck. Cut Short, Convoke, cool. which this card basically reads scry 2, draw a card, destroy target planeswalker that was activated this turn or tapped creature. Most of the time you're going to be destroying the tapped creature. Devouring Light, convoke, exile target attacking or blocking creature. This deck is really beginner friendly, guys, because it's forcing you to cast, it's teaching new players to cast removal when your opponent is tapping them, and generally, in other words, when the creature is attacking. This is guys, I'm telling you, this is almost the 10. This is almost the 10. We have Wear and Tear, which is going to destroy an artifact or enchantment. Good. Battle Screech is going to create tokens twice because this has flashback, so you can use it again when it's in your graveyard. Meeting of the Minds, draw 2 cards with Convoke. So this card basically reads scry 2, draw a card, and then draw 2 cards. Stoke the Flames. This deals 4 damage to any target. We have Temporal Cleansing. Temporal Cleansing, the owner of target non-land permanent puts it into their library, second from the top or the bottom. Fantastic. Migratory Root. I mean, this is going to create 4 tokens. You can use this to find a land. If this had Convoke, this would be great. But 4 tokens for 5 mana with flying sounds pretty good. Artistic Refusal, Convoke. You can either use this to counter a target spell or draw 2 cards and discard a card. Guys, I like counter spells that draw you cards. Counter spells that draw you cards tend to feel really good when you cast them. And because this Artistic Refusal has Convoke, I mean, this is a 2-mana counter spell that's going to draw you cards. Austere Command, which is going to allow you just to wipe the board. This is a really good board wipe because it lets you destroy artifacts, enchantments, and creatures. Shatter the Source. This is going to deal 6 damage to a target creature or destroy an artifact. At 6 mana, guys, it's kind of a lot. It does have Convoke, but you might find a Convoke spell that's better than that one. The Hour of Reckoning, destroy all non-token creatures. It has Convoke, so for 3 mana, destroy all non-token creatures seems pretty good. Chant of Vitu-Ghazi, 2 mana essentially because it has Convoke. Prevent all damage that will be dealt by creatures this turn. You gain 1 life. It's a decent card. I would probably take that card out of the deck, but I don't blame you for keeping it if you want to keep it. Skull Clamp, guys. Wow, this deck right now. Guys, I think I might have to give this a 10. And not because the commander is Maria, but because the cards are really good. Whenever a equipped creature dies, you draw 2 cards. This deck is creating a lot of creatures that have 1 toughness. So you're going to equip this to a creature. It's immediately going to die, and then you're going to draw 2. Great card, guys. Fractured Power Stone, Commander's Sphere, Cultivator's Caravan. I'm not a fan of, this is going to let you tap creatures. And this does tap by itself to create a mana. And this can turn into a 5/5. So I would take this out of the deck, but it's a decent card in this deck. Wand of the World Soul. Oh my god, I've never seen this. So when it enters the battlefield, it enters the battlefield tapped. You can tap this for 1, or you can tap it and the next spell you cast this turn has Convoke. Yo! Guys, this deck, I'm telling you right now, Ichor Elixir, you can tap this to create 2 mana. Every deck in this set has this card. Deluxe Dragster. Deluxe Dragster can't be blocked except by vehicles, okay? So whenever this deals combat damage to a player, you may cast target instant or sorcery card from that player's graveyard without paying its mana cost. Guys, this is a great card. Crew 2, this goes immediately into the Kotori Commander deck. So if you have that and you end up buying this deck and you have this card, put this into the Kotori deck because it's really good. Impact Tremors, Impact Tremors by itself, guys, is going to win you games, honestly. It's such a good card. Creature enters the battlefield, each opponent takes 1 damage. Great card in this deck because you're going to have a ton of little creatures on the board. Improbable Alliance, speaking about putting a bunch of little creatures on the board, whenever you draw your 2nd card each turn, create a 1/1 blue fairy. Guys, this deck, I'm telling you, this is a Conclave Tribunal. Convoke, enters the battlefield, exile target non-land permanent. I like enchantments that act as removal because it forces your opponents to cast removal on those enchantments, which then will waste their removal for enchantments, which then makes sure that when you play your really powerful enchantments, they stay on the board. We have a Whirlwind of thought, whenever you cast a non-creature spell, draw a card. Great in this deck. We have all of the lands. I don't see any lands here other than the Care Keep that's going to create a token that are really noteworthy. And we have a ton of new players, so we don't want to go over lands too much. We do have a Rogue's Passage, which is gonna make a creature unblockable. And then we have the planes that we're not gonna go over because of the new players. Guys, I think for the first time, I don't think a deck is ever going to be a 10 out of 10. I don't think I can do that just for the sanctity of this channel. And I've told you guys that I will never give a deck a 10 out of 10. But I'm giving this deck a 9.9, guys. I mean, this deck is so... It's almost perfection. It synergizes so well. This deck can play at any table, maybe not at CDH levels, but this deck can play at any table and can compete immediately, guys. This deck will play now. And also the fact that they took one of my ex-girlfriends and printed her into a card. Maria is the commander of this commander deck. I'm telling you guys, this is both a blessing and a curse. This deck, I'm telling you guys, is so good because not only did Maria change my life positively, but Maria's gonna end up changing everybody else's life here because she's here in this commander deck. And this commander deck, guys, is strong. You have the Cloud of Fairies. There has to be ways to take this card and make it go infinite, and then you have an infinite combo inside this commander deck. You know, that Wand of the World Soul, guys, they have this predicted at $99 for this card. I don't think that card's worth $100, but it is, trust me. This deck goes into any white commander deck or any commander deck with white and creatures. This card you're gonna want inside that deck. It's a fantastic card. Guys, 9.9, Divine Convocation. Guys, if you're gonna buy a commander deck, out of all the decks that I've seen, this is the strongest. Guys, this is the most, I don't know if this is gonna be the strongest deck out of all the precons that have ever been made, because, you know, other decks, you know, you can upgrade other commander decks and they become extremely powerful. I don't know if Kasla really has the potential to be the strongest out of every precon ever made once it's upgraded. But I can tell you that, like, out of the box, it would be difficult for me to say that this deck could not beat every precon ever created. In a match of up to 5 games, I think that this deck wins the majority of games against any precon ever made. I think that this deck by itself, just as it is, guys, there's so much card advantage inside here. Your commander, first of all, is a flying vigilance with haste, okay? With Convoke that draws you cards. Guys, this deck is super, just absolutely incredible. Everybody give Wizards a round of applause. This commander deck here is just about perfection. What I would have liked to have seen for this deck to be a 10 is a method of just ending the game. You know, if you had some double strike inside here or some way to buff Kasla's power so that she becomes a one-shot commander damage threat. If this deck had that, this would have been a 10, but it would then, I think, be overpowered. You know, if that was the case. But wow, what a commander deck, guys. Keep in mind that we do giveaways on this channel, everybody. So if you're interested in entering the giveaway, you can find the giveaway video. I'll link it right over here up top, and you just type giveaway in that video. I'm not going to spoil the commander that we're giving away for you. Just watch it and you'll find out. Also, keep in mind that we're going to be auctioning off this Chulane commander deck that we built on stream a couple of months ago. And what we're going to be doing is auctioning it off on eBay, and we're going to automatically assign 75% of what the deck sells for to a charity called Petco Love, so that we can feed dogs and then we can feed cats and just take care of them until they find a family to be together with, right? So 25% of this commander deck I'm going to keep so that I can pay for shipping in case I have to ship this deck internationally. And then I'm going to use that money to get more cards so that I can continue to do charities and donations just like this, okay? So whenever I end these videos, I always say the same thing. Always remember, you can subscribe. Always remember, eat healthy, okay? work out every single day. And most importantly, you got to remember to believe in yourself. And in the future, we're going to be going over the last commander deck, which is the Tinker Time commander deck in the future. And I hope that you're looking forward to that video. Okay, guys? Peace out, everybody.